Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks! What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a different type of top 5 video. This knife actually is not part of the list. This is the Lion Steel TRE Titanium, a knife that my wife gave me on our first anniversary. And it's one that I carry every now and then, but it's the knife that sparked the idea for this video. I was going through my drawers, and this one was way in the back of one of the drawers, and I was like, I don't carry that one as much as I used to. Maybe I should throw it in my pocket and give it some pocket time. Like anybody who has a rotation of pocket knives, you probably, do that every now and then. And I realized, I was like, it's nice to have the option. It's almost nice to rediscover your love for a knife after you haven't carried it for a while. And I do love this knife. And then I thought, I wonder what knives I have that I basically don't carry at all. And I was like, oh, I should do a top 5 video for the knives that I literally almost never or literally never carry. So this is not on the list, but off to my left here, I have the 5 least carried and used knives by me in my entire collection. And each one of them has a different reason. And funny enough, they're all kind of in slightly different, crazy different price ranges between a couple of them, but there's some interesting things here. So this isn't going to be a super long video. It's just something that I thought you guys might be entertained by. I have a lot of knives in my collection. If you've not watched my channel, I have an enormous, not the biggest knife collection in the world, but I've got a lot of knives. I got a lot of really good knives. I got some knives that aren't as good, and I don't know why I'm still hanging on to some of them, but I have them and I don't know what to do with them. The first one is a knife that I very much love, but it just doesn't get carried very often. And I can't tell you why. This is the Todd Bag Steelcraft Series 3/4 Quaken. This was a gift from my buddy David. And those of you who were here in the beginning when I was reviewing knives out of vehicles on the dealership lot that I used to work at, you'll remember when this knife, first came to the channel. This knife is made by Riot. It's utilizing S35VN. It's got DLC-coated titanium with carbon fiber inlays and has a ridiculously smooth action, both in terms of fall shuttiness and in terms of deployment. It's also very easy to manipulate, and it's got a nice EDC-friendly blade. It's a little aggressive for my taste, but it's still a very aesthetically pleasing knife. It's also a very expensive knife. I have no idea why this thing doesn't make it into my pocket. Every time I open up, it's sitting in one of the upper drawers because of the way that I've got these all sorted and how much these things cost. It's sitting in one of the upper drawers. And every time I open that drawer, I look at it, and it's like my subconscious picks it up, and it's like, oh yeah, I love that knife. And then it just doesn't go in the pocket. I can count on one hand how many times that knife has legitimately made it in my pocket and left the house. Right? A few times I just carried it around, walking around, or I get it out and play with it, but actually left the house and intended to use it. Now, here's the crazy thing. It was a gift. I'll never, ever get rid of this guy. I can use it to my heart's content, right? And I'm fully aware that a lot of people would be, head over heels to own this and have the option to carry it. And I'm not trying to throw it in anybody's face, but for whatever reason, I just don't, I don't know. I don't know. It's got a lot of features that I like. It's not my favorite design in the entire world, but it is a titanium frame lock with good materials, and it flips well, and it's, it's really good looking, right? I don't know. It just doesn't make it in my pocket often. Moving on here, one that absolutely does get used every now and then, but not by me. This is a funny one, right? I was like, well, that one can't be on the list. It's something that's been used. But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I don't use it. So whenever we add on to our house, we have a project in the backyard, I always get my dad and brother suckered into it, and they know that they'll get a free meal out of it and some beverages. And so on Saturdays, sometimes they come over and they help me with stuff. Oftentimes, I'll get out a few folding knives that I don't mind them beating on, and this is always one of them. The Gerber Flatiron. This is the OG design. I don't like this knife. I was very upset with the fit and finish when it came to me brand new, and I also don't like that 7CR steel. Now, I can tell that Gerber seems to be headed in a better direction, and I don't think, despite the Flatiron being a very aesthetically appealing design, it is not one that I use because the design itself is frustrating. It's got a little bit of lock stick. It's got, it's people, you guys would probably be saying, well, if it functions just fine, right? And it's so what if it doesn't have the best steel? You know, just make it a beater and use it. This knife planted a very negative seed in my mind because I had this thing built up. I was like, is this going to be the Gerber that like turns things around for them? Because it's such a cool, interesting design, right? And then it was like, you know, it wasn't that expensive, but it got to me and I was like, like the fit and finish on this thing is just terrible. Like these lips, this isn't from use. That's how it came. The lips on the aluminum, right? And then the lock bar just felt terrible and grindy and the action wasn't good. And that the blade wasn't sharp and the steel at 7CR for what they paid. I was like, no. And it was like I had this grudge in my mind, which just made me mad. Like, don't tempt me in with a cool looking design. It's like, surprise, it's garbage. Newer versions of this, I think, are a little bit better, and perhaps I should give it another chance. But the truth is I don't really use this knife. I get it out and I let my dad and brother use it. I might have made a quick cut with it here or there, but I was just really salty. I don't normally get like that, but I was really like bent out of shape about the Flatiron. And so it sits around. It's not a knife that I really want to give away because number one, I've been using it. And number two, it's like, if I don't like it, I don't want to give it to somebody and be like, well, here, I don't like this. You can have it, right? I like giving knives to people that I like. So it just sits around and it's a knife that I let people use when they come over to help me with my own projects. I guess we went 5-4. We're going to number 3 here. Number 3, this is a sad one because truthfully, I actually love this knife and I do like to carry it. What's holding me back from carrying and leaving the house with it is the size of it. This is the Kershaw XL Sheepdog, and truthfully, I love this knife. I remember talking about it before this knife came out and thinking, oh my gosh, they did an XL version of the Sheepdog in G10 and 154 cm, right? And it's running on bearings. It's made by Kaiser. What an awesome idea because, you know, they could be had for a completely reasonable price for the materials. Now, the problem is it's so big, it's basically novelty big. I mean, we're looking at, I'll weigh it for you guys here real quick. Not only is it ridiculously tall. Let's do that thing that I always do with the PM2 and the Para 3, right? These knives have awkward carry profiles. Look at this crazy, huge thing, right? It's enormous. It just doesn't do well in the pocket. And on top of that, you guys know my range, right? For weights, like between 4 and 6.5. Sometimes I say 4.5. Somewhere between 4 and 6.5 ounces is what I prefer to carry. Oh my God, 9.1 ounces. I can't do it. Even in jeans and working outdoors, and yeah, I know that blade shape is potentially great for food prep or maybe some light chopping or whatever. The truth is that I get this knife out when I just want to, you know, play with a knife that has a huge blade and makes a cool sound. Listen to this. And then when it closes, it's just crazy. It's like it's a meat cleaver, right? It's cool. Shook the camera when I set it down. It's really cool. I just can't carry it. It's just way too big. So it's just it's a novelty thing that I don't want to get rid of because it was a gift from Shaker. You can usually find him down in the comments section. Really, really nice. He said, you know, what knife would you buy under $250 right now? And I said, honestly, the knife that I would buy if I, you know, was going to buy a knife right now under $250 would be that Kershaw that XL Sheepdog, not Kershaw, Kaiser XL Sheepdog. Because it's just crazy huge. I just love that. I love the big honking crazy knives. The same deal with the Praetorian tie, the Artisan Cutlery Proponent, the large one, especially the brass one, is super heavy. Love them all. Can't carry them. They're huge, right? So this just sits around. It's the last massive giant knife that I own. It just doesn't get carried. All right, now I'm sad to say, well, no, I'm not sad to say this. The last 2 knives on this list are knives that I not only don't carry, but I just flat out don't like. And both of these knives, my dislike for them and my outward negativity towards them has actually caused some backlash on this channel because both of these knives, for different reasons, are loved by different groups of people. We'll go ahead and get number 2 over with here. The Opinel number 8, which technically now belongs to Ricky, because of a giveaway that I did on a live stream here recently. This knife has basically not been used. I picked this up for 2 reasons. 1, because it was super popular, and 2, because it was super cheap. And I wanted to find out what the deal with these things were. And yeah, that's basically it. You know, I get it. It's a fully flat ground blade. It's minimalist, right? You can feel really good about every last little penny you saved on this thing, and it's the ultimate picnic knife, and it's really good at cutting sandwiches in half when you're at a picnic. You know, no, truthfully, I mean, yeah, it'll do basically the same thing as any other pocket knife, but there's just nothing here for me to love. I just don't love it. And Ricky, who's a local buddy, you won this, and I'm going to give it to you. We just haven't, I told him, I said, I'll hand this off to you the next time I see you in person. You're going to feel the same way about it. It'll do fine in your vehicle or a toolbox or wherever, throw it around. Nothing against the Opinel company. I mean, this truthfully is, you know, from a design standpoint, it is truly minimalist. That is the only good thing that I can say about it. I mean, the grind, it's going to cut. It uses, in this case, I think it's a stainless steel. They have a carbon steel version of it. But, you know, for anybody who wants to tell me that there's no reason to ever spend more money on a knife than on an Opinel, I got a long argument for you. I probably won't engage in the comments section. I did my review on this knife, and I've talked about it enough that I'll just direct people to that content. But, I always tell people who say, hey, should I just buy an Opinel? I'd say spend some more money and get a little bit of a better knife, right? Spend $20, $30, well, spend $30, $40, $50 and get yourself a really good budget knife that's going to last, in my opinion, longer, has a blade geometry that's going to allow it to do more than just cut sandwiches in half at a picnic. And by that, I mean a blade that's going to be a little bit more durable. There is, in my opinion, reason to have a slightly thicker blade stock than this needle point at the tip, to have slightly better steel, to have slightly better handle materials, and have a more wieldy knife in general. Here are the movements that that are required for putting this away. And then I'll put it in my pocket, but it doesn't have a pocket clip, so it just falls over in the back. I know people are going to be so mad at me for coming down the Opinel. I'm sorry. This is how I feel about Opinel. My mind's not going to change. A lot of people do love these knives, and I'm not going to say that anybody who likes them is wrong, right? Yeah, sure. If all you need, if in your day-to-day life all you need is an Opinel, then it might be the right knife for you. I do not like this. That's why I gave it away. Can anybody guess what my number one is? It's something that I have reviewed twice on this channel. The first time I reviewed it, I was overly mean. I didn't give it a chance at all, shot it down, didn't even give it a fair review. It was very early on my channel. I made fun of it. Turns out a lot of people own and use and like this knife and did not like that. So I actually brought it back and re-reviewed it in the style that you're seeing right here. And I gave it a fair review. I talked about all of the different elements of a folding knife that I look for and weigh good and bad, right? Blah, blah, blah. And then I ended at the same conclusion. I said, I'll be fair about it this time, but I still don't like this knife and I don't recommend it. Part of the reason is in corners of the internet, I was finding it for as much as $50. This knife, brand new off the factory floor, belongs in a grab box of $5 knives at a flea market at best. That is the Smith & Wesson Extreme Ops Black Tanto. Mine is in perfect condition, as you can see, because it absolutely will never see the inside of my pocket. I bought this knife so that I could re-review it. One of my friends handed this to me, and I was like, wow, I hate it. And I really, this guy and I are really good friends. We worked together at the dealership, and I knew that I wouldn't hurt his feelings. I was like, wow, I hate this. And he was like, yeah, it's okay. He was like, you want to review it on your channel? And I said, okay. And so that's how I first got my hands on it. And then I had the backlash, and so a few months later, I bought it for the least expensive that I could find it, which I think was on eBay for like $16 or $17. I can't remember. And that is way too much money to pay for this knife. This knife is unsafe in a number of ways. It also, the problem is knives like this, they mislead people, right? Smith & Wesson, leading people to believe that, you know, because of the company, you know, and their reputation with firearms and the whole USA thing, right, leads people to believe that this is a US-made knife. On top of that, right, it's a serrated black Tanto, and then it says Extreme Ops on it, right? It's the same thing I said in the old reviews, right? So it makes people think like this must be a knife that is made like to be in extreme circumstances, and it has sort of that police, military, law enforcement look about it, right? So it kind of fits right into what I'm looking for, right? And then the manufacturer at that point, they're like, good, we got them roped in, good. We use whatever, use barely steel. Just you know, use aluminum basically for the blade.
put some serrations on it. They'll like that. I don't know. Handle material, some kind of rubber. It doesn't matter. Just melt down some tires. Put some stuff on it and whatever. Put Smith & Wesson on there. Oh, yeah. And add a seatbelt cutter, because these knives always have that. And add a glass breaker, and then just throw a pocket clip on there. But make sure that it's black. It has to be black, because that's one of the main reasons why they're buying it. It's an all black knife, right? So it's super tactical, right? Like it's got an attachment. You can put it on top of your scope, which is on top of another scope, which is on top of the barrel, right, of your rifle, that's attached to a grenade launcher, that's attached to a railgun. Ridiculous. I don't like this for so many reasons, but that when I saw it for $50 online, it just drove me crazy. And so you might be asking, why do you have it? Well, the problem is it's a bladed object. It's a brand new. Here's the other thing. I didn't mention this. Horrible up and down blade play. Horrible left and right blade play. Brand new. It's not safe. It's not safe at all. I know how knives like these are manufactured. The designer didn't care. The company doesn't care. It's just a knife with some black paint on it. That's what it is. It's a bladed object with some black paint on it. So I don't like that. So why do I have it? Well, it's a knife that I don't feel is safe enough to give to somebody. And I also don't like the idea of just throwing a tool away, because if I'm being honest with myself, it is still a sharp blade. It might not be safe, but I can still cut a box open with it if I need to. I just won't enjoy it, right? It'll cut open a box. You know, would I trust the knife to break myself out of a vehicle that I couldn't get out of, or, you know, to help save another person's life, as the name implies, or the whole nature of the knife implies? No. I wouldn't use it for anything more than just cutting tape. So it's really hard for me to throw a knife away, but it's also really hard for me to give it away because I don't like it. So I feel like I'm protecting the world from this one version. I'm sure there's 10 billion of these out there, right? Stamped and pressed, hot off the assembly line, right? But I'm going to protect the world from at least one of these. So it's going to just stay locked up here in the dungeon. Wow, that was a really kind of negative episode, and kind of a sad episode for a Sunday afternoon. In any case, I hope you guys got a little bit of enjoyment out of this. If you did, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on this Metal Complex logo right here and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.